This episode is brought to you by Lumina Growth Lab. At Lumina, we help professional learning and development consultants who are struggling with steady lead flow, consistent bottom line revenue, and scalability so they can finally have healthy margins, make more strategic decisions, and ultimately take their business to the next level. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because nothing seems to work outside of word of mouth and referral-based growth. But with the right strategy and support, they're able to confidently add new channels of lead generation that create sustainable revenue and year-over-year progress for cheaper than ever before because of the use of AI technologies. If that sounds like you or someone you know, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about unlocking your business's potential. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix. I'm your host, Lisanne Murphy, and today I am joined by the one and only, the very talented Dr. Mark Bojeun. Mark, thank you so much for coming onto the show today. I am so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me, Lisanne. Really looking forward to the conversation.
Guys, I had the pleasure of meeting Mark a few weeks ago, and I was absolutely blown away by this man. I mean, he is literally one of the smartest, most technical guys I've ever met, but also his emotional intelligence and his ability to reflect and take personal responsibility for the energy he's putting into the world and actually make a change is remarkable. So he's like a personal development guru combined with like an IT mastermind, which I mean, have I ever seen that in one individual? No, I have not. So I am so excited to talk to him today. Let me take a moment to just introduce this powerhouse, and then I am excited to have him absolutely blow your mind. So today we're joined by Dr. Mark Bojeun, a global authority in conscious leadership and executive transformation. He currently serves as a chief information officer at Seward County Community College, where he's leading a major digital transformation that is reshaping how technology supports education and community impact. With more than 2 decades of experience as a technology leader, consultant, and educator, he has guided organizations through large-scale modernization initiatives, advanced AI integration, and the development of high-performing teams across industries. He's also a respected author and speaker whose work bridges leadership, emotional intelligence, and organizational change. His upcoming book, Awakening Leadership: The Journey to Conscious Influence, releases September 8th, challenges traditional models and calls leaders to embrace a more ethical, inclusive, and sustainable approach to leadership. Through his teaching, writing, and executive work, he continues to inspire leaders to lead with purpose, clarity, and conscious impact. All right, guys, so no matter where you are, whether you're in Costco, in your car, at your kitchen, wherever it is, give him a huge round of applause. And thank you so much for spending some time with us today on the Marketing Matrix. Again, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisanne. I'm really, honestly, excited and a little bit nervous about this conversation, and excited because the book is finally going to launch. About 10 years in the making, 3 years in the writing, but nervous because it really is my personal journey. It's not just theory; it's my mistakes. It's how I evolved. Because in the last 20 to 30 years in tech, it has been heavily male dominated. And I get to call this because, I'm on it, on the spectrum. We are not well known for being self aware. And in a male dominated field like that, the culture was built of arrogance, posturing, fragile egos, rooms of smart men, sorry, me included, confidently making the same mistakes and too proud to learn from them. It's an indictment of me, not of men. It is my candid self assessment of my evolution over my years in leadership. And what I've learned is simple: arrogance is a cheap substitute for ownership. And super excited about conscious leadership because it is about ethical decision making by leaders who are mindful, intentional in their actions. It's not just about vision, it's about presence. We take emotional intelligence, mindfulness, transformational leadership, servant leadership, combine them together into a intentional style where the leader takes action. With that action, they are intentional and they judge the impact of their words, their impact on the teams around them, and own the consequences of their reactions. how they lead their team and adjust accordingly. And what that really gave me, and I'll shut up here real quick. In IT, what that means is success is the team, failure is mine. And that's not a soundbite. That's we believe it, we live it. Because the mistakes, when leaders own the outcome, those mistakes aren't shameful. They start becoming the tuition. We shift from fear to ownership and accountability, unlocking the key to high performance, which is trust, innovation, and truly inclusive teams where people belong and are heard. So, a little fearful because I'm admitting to many, many mistakes along the way.
I love that. Well, and what's interesting is, as someone who believes deeply in personal transformation and growth, like everything you described is really exciting, but it's kind of scary and it's an ugly journey, right? To recognize your follies. And so I'm really curious, like, why, from your experience, why do people not why are they not willing to look into the dark or look into their mistakes? Why do they, well, whether it's putting on a mask or faking it or performing in a certain way to gain approval, like why do we avoid change? Like in your experience and in your research?
Well, what I've come to believe is that, and I'm going to speak for the male dominated field of IT because that's really where my experience is. We are trained from culture, we're trained from birth. The male ego pride is actually super fragile. We protect it at all costs. It's a gut reaction to protect that. And we build a level of arrogance that prevents us from evaluating our actions from a true present and emotionally intelligent perspective because we're afraid that in doing so, we'll admit failure. So instead of learning, we become arrogant. And that was supported for many years. Real quick, when I was doing my MBA, I wasn't the only one who would sit in a communication course or a HR led conflict resolution course. And when I left, I would shed that persona and go, wow, okay, now I can be me. Going home to the people who actually meant the most to me in my life without the tools I had just learned because who I was obviously had to be better. And it was damaging to everyone around until I started understanding that when you look internally, you can start to evolve. You can accept your faults, improve the ones you aren't capable of fixing, improve what you can fix now, and accept what you can't fix. It actually becomes a superpower. You can tell me I'm an idiot. I'm not going to get hurt by it because I don't think I am. I've evaluated. If you tell me I was an ass for many years, unfortunately, I'm going to agree with you, but you're not going to surprise me. And so that fear of looking internally restricted growth. I used to teach emotional intelligence in IT. There was not a single class that I did not have some guy walk in and go, I ain't hugging any of you. And I would look at him and go, yeah, come on, you want to kiss me? Come up here. And his arrogance met with the same level of arrogance to try to force them to understand. I don't care what you're feeling. You have to understand what your emotions, what your arrogance, what your intentionality does to those around you and what their baggage coming into the office does to the team as well. So it's about how do you communicate if you're still in the meeting from an hour ago where you're still mad at somebody who annoyed you? How can I communicate with you if I'm not present here? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. Right? Like I had an opportunity to, in my travels, I took the chance to live like a monk in a monastery. And that was one of the biggest
Did
lessons
you?
that I learned. Yeah, was that if your mind is so cluttered with past conversations or to-do lists or past irritants, you can't just be in the moment with whatever you're doing, whether it's in a conversation or it's present with your activity that you're doing. Like, it's impossible to be where you actually are. And so yes, I love that concept. So here's a follow-up question: is personal growth and evolution for everybody?
Sorry, it honestly should be. It has to be, or we don't evolve. fantastic. The amazing thing about emotional intelligence, EQ, is it is not measured on the same scale as IQ. Your IQ, static through your life. EQ, by definition, changes. As a child, you are, throwing the tantrum, you are the world. And later you start to evolve. Now, those of us who don't evaluate themselves, we don't evolve. And evolution isn't necessary. I mean, the dinosaurs chose extinction, work for them. But if we want to stay present, if we want to stay valid, we have to start reviewing ourselves. Real quick, I was in a silly story, but I was in a relationship with this amazing gal who said, I want to go see the Notebook. And I said, without thinking, I don't watch chick flicks. She said, why? I said, because I'm a guy. I don't watch chick flicks. She said, had you seen one? And I go, no, I'm a guy. I don't watch them. So that night I had to fly to London, and I was in Dulles Airport, and they had the Notebook and the book stands. Guiltily, I bought the book and I read the book. So when I got back from England, I went in and I admitted I had read the book. And I said, look, Nicholas Sparks, way too flowery for me, but it was a good story. Now, if I'm not willing to look at myself, I can't be present in a relationship. How can I lead a global team? How can I start to embrace the mistakes? How do I empower my team to learn, to evolve if I can't?
I love that. Do you remember the experience that catalyzed this belief for you? The event where you were like, "Wow, like, I have to look inward, and I have to be self-aware and take responsibility for how I'm presenting myself in the world." Do you remember that moment?
And yeah, well, in 2014, I wrote a book on program management leadership as part of Dr. Ginger Levine's theory on program management in the project management body of knowledge. 500 pages. They mention leadership 15 times and never define it, or at least they did at that time. In the next year, they came up with a leadership quadrant and this and that. Then they came out with agile, and it was, well, if you're going to be in a traditional project approach, you're going to use a transformational leadership, and if you're going to be in an agile, you're going to be servant leadership. And I thought, wait, why am I not both? Both have qualities that reward my team. And then, true story, I was working on a project in a multi-billion-dollar engineering firm in downtown Baltimore, and I made a mistake. I'd been there a year fixing the mistakes others made, but I screwed up. So I had to go meet with the board of directors, and I walked in and I said, guys, I screwed up. Now, how do we fix it? And how do we make sure it doesn't happen again? And one of the guys goes, but you screwed up. And I go, yeah, we covered that. Now, how do we fix it? And the power of the accusation went away when you own the mistake. Ever since then, I own mistakes. I have yet to find an organization that I call them up and go, I screwed up, guys. Doesn't matter who, where on my team it happened. I screwed up. Now, I need to talk about how we can fix it and how we make sure it doesn't happen again. Not a single organization has ever taken offense at me taking ownership of that mistake. But in doing it, my team in IT has to innovate, and they are now allowed to make mistakes. I don't know if I mentioned it, but my favorite Bill Gates quote was, I never learned anything from success. It's the failures that we evolve. But when we spin them, when we blame others, finger point, try to minimize it, we don't have time to learn. Embrace it and go, let's make sure we don't do that again. Now we learn. Now we turn it into an education. And in doing so, I also found that it's okay if I make mistakes. I don't have to be perfect. At one time, I thought I was. I have realized I'm not woke, but I am waking up. I am evolving. I'm not there, but I recognize the path ahead for the first time. That evolution is what all of us need to do, but not when you're an old man like me. We need to do it when we start out. We need to be honest with ourselves. And that's what emotional intelligence and mindfulness does.
I love that
We
so
get
much.
rid of the arrogance. and we take ownership, accountability, brains in parallel, not egos in collusion.
I love that. Okay, so here's a I would love to know, you have a book coming out at the time we're recording this, you have a book coming out in just a few days.
Yep, conscious. Yep, awakening leadership.
So we're going to talk about that in just a minute, but I have another question before we talk about that book. My question is, what is a question that you're mulling over in your mind right now that you're trying to figure out? Like what's something you're thinking about when in your downtime that's percolating in your mind that you're trying to noodle through or understand? What are you trying to figure out?
I'll tell you, I've been here at Seward County for a year. And this morning, Tracy came in and said, look, we had this happen and we had this happen and we had classes that were waiting on things that didn't work. And I said, okay, how do we go to the root cause? Solve that problem, not the symptom. And the root cause in that case, in this conversation was these professors aren't going in the day before and running their class. They're going in 5 minutes before their first class and going, well, this doesn't work the way I wanted it to. And we got limited resources. So how do we address it? How do we, and that's the key. It's okay that we made mistakes, but I will talk to leadership today and go, yeah, guys, I made a mistake. Now here's what we're doing to address it going forward. So those things we recognize, that's what we focus on. The thing that bothers me is the thing that keeps me up at night is the things I still have blinders on, the things I'm not aware of. That scares the hell out of me. I told you that I had a conversation with someone last night who said, your book was actually a confessional of your evolution from being an arrogant ass to maybe something less. And show me that at 7 o'clock last night. I spent 3 hours pondering that, researching, reading my book again and going, yeah, wow, I am confessing to my evolution here. And we have to, if I own it, I don't think there is anything wrong with somebody saying, I had the wrong impression, I evolved, I fixed some things, I have more work to do. How can that be wrong?
Yeah, I really identify with that concept of like being terrified of your own blinders and what you're not aware of yet. That is yeah, that's me too. I think about that often, right? Because we look through life through our own lens, right? And so it's like you can't read the label from the inside of the jar, right? It's like we're inside our own jar.
Absolutely.
And I always asking myself, like, what's on the label that I can't see? Like, because I'm also someone who's very, very intent on personal growth, but I know there's so many areas where I'm just being arrogant or being a fool with people or judging, and I don't even see it yet. And it terrifies me.
You have no idea how hard it is in an IT field to say, check your ego, check your title at the door. In here, we talk technology, not personality. We follow a divergence convergence. We take an idea and rip it apart. Every single thing that would go wrong or everything that could be a risk. And then we converge. We take the best of so many ideas and we come out with a solution that so far evolved what any one individual could ever come up with that I don't know how we didn't ever always do it. Real quick, I was 12 riding on a snowmobile behind my father and my sister. She was 14. Something happened. He sent her back to my machine. She got on my machine and said, Dad needs to talk to you. 12 years old, 2 years younger than her. I walk up. He says to me, broke my leg. I need you to turn my foot back around. And so I did. And we drove back to the cabin. And then he drove himself to the hospital. And it didn't make a sound, didn't make a complaint. Called neighbors. They came and picked us up. I forgot my book. And I had to go back into the waiting room to get my book. And I heard my father say, are the kids gone? And yeah, they're gone. That man bellowed like a bear, but he couldn't allow himself to feel that or demonstrate that he wasn't invincible. And the last part, 2015, I fell 25 feet off the roof. I broke my neck, my back, my leg, my arm. I was bleeding out in the driveway. The only time my ex-wife ever listened to me was when I called for help. She came down, ambulance driver came and picked me up. We get in the ambulance, and I look at him, and honestly, I said, "Am I good?" And he goes, "Yep, not a tear." Didn't have to say to that man anything else. He knew I needed to know whether I'd shown pain in front of my wife and kids. That is the mistake we make.
Mm, mm. Yeah, such a
That
powerful
that that
illustration.
we're not feeling, so we're not evolving.
Yeah, wow. Do you feel like you've applied IT frameworks to EQ, to emotional intelligence? Like, how
I believe
where's the
we
intersection? Where's the Venn diagram intersection of those 2 things?
I believe we have sought the root cause of why IT efforts systematically fail, and we are better for it. So many organizations, there is a fear-based culture in IT. And let me tell you, in the 90s, PCs came out, cellular phones came out, internet came out. It was life changing. And then in 2021, AI came out, and AI was made that look like, we built a couple of tools. AI has changed the world so dramatically. Back in the 90s, we were wild, wild west. We knew everything. Don't tell us what you want. We'll give you what you need. We didn't know how business ran, but we were that arrogant because there were no books written on it. There was nothing. So we had to go out and pave the way. Now that AI is out here and technology is evolving every 90 days now instead of every 10 years, everybody's got to embrace innovation, take ownership for mistakes, and evolve. Or you have to repeat everyone else's mistakes in order because you're too smart to learn from them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So do you feel like
And
AI
that's what happens in IT. Sorry.
So no, I know that's super interesting. So how do you see AI influencing the personal growth journey? Like, is it going to enable people to do it more effectively, more efficiently? Is it going to weed out those that that are willing to evolve versus those that aren't? What's the impact of AI on not just IT like you were mentioning, but on emotional growth?
Two things on that. I keep seeing idiotic statements where they go, AI is stunting critical thinking. And I go back to Socrates, who was quoted as furious because the written word was going to create walking idiots. Okay. We see it again. If you think AI stunning your critical thinking, you're using it wrong. My favorite is we use the answer of 42 in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They built an AI and they asked it, "What's the meaning of life?" And after 100 years and a second build, came back and it goes 42. And they go, "We don't understand the answer." And AI says, "No, you didn't understand the question." See, if you use AI as a guide, a debate argument, coach to evaluate, to take a counter argument, to help you think of things you didn't think of and have a conversation. Critical thinking is all you do because you are evolving. I have some prompts, but I will tell you last night when this friend pointed out to me that, wow, your book is really a kind of a confessional. I told AI, look at everything I've written over the last 3 years. Look at all my threads. Look at everything I've asked you. Look at my book and tell me, is this accurate? And came back and goes, yeah. I said, so everybody hates me. And it says, no, everybody doesn't know you. It can take that critical analysis of how do you ask questions? What do you follow up? What do you do in education? There's a huge resistance. Oh, it's going to plagiarize. Oh, it's going to give us the answers. No, you're asking the wrong question. When calculators were finally on phones and they were allowed in the classroom, we stopped asking people to do simple arithmetic. It became silly. So we have to start using AI as a tutor. I have a world history teacher who said, you remember this? The Mesopotamic law in, I don't know, what was it, like 1100 or something like that, what the impact was on the locals. He says, but AI is never going to help my students learn. And I wrote a quick prompt and I had a conversation with a local and I said, "Hey, what's the impact of this?" And the local started talking about the fees they were now paying when their land flooded to the city. And I was like, "Isn't this what you want them to know?" He goes, "Well, yeah, but that's not the format." I said, "Exactly. But if I use I can send my students not just everywhere to experience the world, I can send them in time. I can go have a conversation with Bill Gates in 1994 when he proudly announced no one will ever need more than 640K of RAM. And we all screamed, "You're wrong." I can have a conversation with him now and say, "Well, what does this mean for AI?" And he has some insights, but you have to ask the question. What my favorite questions are to ask AI, what themes or what have I not considered in my communication style based on all my threads with you? And wow, you want an honest assessment? Ask a teen daughter or AI, and you will get the facts. It hurts, but you will get the facts. And when you read it, you have to. It's not. It's not insulting you. It's an analysis, and it's accurate.
Yeah.
So if we accept that, we can use it as an evolutionary tool.
So smart. I
That
love it.
makes sense.
I love it. 100%. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, AI or a teenage daughter. Fantastic. Got it.
My teenage daughter once came to me and she goes, "Dad, I have cankles." I go, "What are cankles?" She goes, "My calves are the same side of my ankles." I said, "Really? It's a silly thing. If somebody has to make that up, you're pretty, move on." She goes, "Really? Well, mom says you have moves." And I said, "Okay, well, get out of here with your cankles. They're critical. You can't shy away from it."
That's incredible.
You know,
So let's talk about the book. Let's talk about the book. What was your motive for writing it? Is it a business consultative speaking play? Is it more of a memoir that you wanted to get out your experience and it's like a more of a legacy play? Like talk to me about the book that's coming out this week.
the book is 10 years of speaking the words and not really understanding them, starting to realize I needed to better internalize, and there are no definitive resources. Daniel Goleman, I think in 2002, 2001, came out with Emotional Intelligence 2.0, but has it evolved? It really hasn't. So, conscious leadership, not a phrase I've quoted, but an under researched topic that really stands back and says, when I make decisions as a leader, I have to make decisions that are ethically valuable to all stakeholders, not shareholders, all stakeholders. My team, the customers, who does it impact? I couldn't communicate it because I didn't understand it. So the book is the evolution of my learning and evolving, and then having to document and finally saying, this really starts to make sense. It isn't transformational or transactional leadership. It isn't servant or situational leadership. It is intentionality and ownership and accountability with ethical decision making. I mean, seriously, the spin I watch people take blaming others. And so we have a saying here. We have a single throat to choke, mine. President of the university has a problem. He doesn't go to Tracy. He didn't go to Cecil. He comes to me. Doesn't have to go any further because he has one throat to choke and I take all accountability. I hope that when he comes to me, I've already started to think, how do we fix it? How do we make sure it doesn't happen? But I was there when those paths were taken. I was in those meetings when we decided on that solution. Who owns responsibility besides me? I mean, how can I shirk that? And when you take that on, wow, your teams are free to evolve.
I love that. It's
And
beautiful.
that's really where, high performing teams was always a fascination with me. The reason I got my PhD. And I built a few. I couldn't tell you why, but I built a few. And so I needed to understand why. And then I realized you were lucky because look at all these flaws that should have destroyed those teams. And so, it's that evolution. And when I finally got into it, it just made sense to put it into a format that helps people evolve. So every chapter exercises. daily activities to help you evaluate and improve mindfulness, emotional intelligence, presence, ownership and accountability, and ethical decision making. All of this built in so that those exercises are self reflection. They are silly, but they're how I was able to look inside. I was at the time too protective to ask for help, so I was doing it alone. So this is a roadmap for how we do it safely and we evolve. And it's okay to be wrong. Matter of fact, being wrong, that's how we learn. So own it and then move on. Makes sense?
Yeah, and who's the book for? Is it for IT leaders? Is it for any
Guys,
leader? Is it for any
actually,
human?
over time, I watch TikTok and I saw stories about dating. In today's day and age, there are one of the things a little bit concerning is that there's a whole alpha male type of thing, and this, eh, very few people would say I'm not somewhat dominant, somewhat authoritative, and yet I am the first person who will tell you I screwed up. I will call myself a moron on a regular basis. I ask my team to just not let me prove how dumb I am. They have to correct me before I go out and show the world what an idiot I am. Now, if I can do that, it doesn't change, it doesn't hurt my male ego pride. It makes me stronger. Make any sense? Well, quickly, when I evolved, I finally found the silliest thing in the world. I could sit with this gal who was a wonderful gal, a great relationship, healthiest relationship I ever had. I could sit and watch the Housewives of whatever. Admittedly, never did like the show, but I could sit next to her and enjoy being with her while she enjoyed something with me. And it did not turn me into a girly man. It did not turn me into a fan of Housewives, but it let me invest in her wants and needs. And wow, did I find out that when somebody was invested in hers, she had time to invest in mine. A 5-year relationship, we never had a single argument. So that kind of a thing, that was a huge eye-opening thing. And when we split as friends, I had to realize I wasn't worthy of that yet. I had further to go. So that's where you got to accept that ownership and that reflection. That day I fell off the roof, the day I shattered my body, not a single person would have judged me poorly had I cried in pain, had tears come out. Nobody would have cared but me and my fragile male ego pride.
I love it. Oh man, well, I'm really excited for your book to come out. I definitely want to grab a copy and check it out for myself. And we've
Yep.
had such an inspiring conversation. Is that what the cover is?
It's the proof copy.
Oh, I love it. I love
So
it.
it is actually out at press right now, but this is the final proof. So I reviewed that just last week.
I love it. I love it.
So super exciting
Okay, so
and
tell
super scary.
absolutely. So tell people that are listening today, like how can they connect with you, follow you, find the book, understand more about the impact you're making in the world.
So my kids hate it, but in my day and age, we didn't care. My name is unique. I am the easiest person in the world to find. I'm the only Mark Bojeun in the world. So I'm on LinkedIn at Mark Bojeun. I end Mark Bojeun. I have a website, www.markbojeun.com. You can find me at Seward Community College. You'll find me speaking. We're talking about possibly doing a book launch in Denver or DC. So easy to find because nobody else but me and my kids have my last name. Silly thing, but makes it unique.
I love it. Well, Mark, it has
It
been
also means I can't hide.
I
I
can't.
have to own it.
I'm the same way. I was actually on another podcast earlier this morning, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm really easy to find. Like, there really isn't any other Lisanne Murphys out there." So, Dr. Mark,
It's interesting that surnames like that, you search it, you will find people all over the world of Johnson or whatever. Mine is a typo, so there is nobody else with it. When I try to do genealogy, nobody can figure it out. So I love it. My kids hate it because you can't go, no, that's another James Bojan. You got to take ownership for what that video showed.
Yeah, I love that so much. Well, Dr. Mark Bojan, it has seriously been an absolute joy and a pleasure to have you on the Marketing Matrix today. I know that we could just spiral into so many topics together, and I really appreciate you bringing your expertise, your heart, your excitement for your own journey and sharing that. And I really am excited to see the book touch a lot of lives through your influence. So again, thank you for being on the Marketing Matrix today.
Thank you again. Once again, really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for the opportunity. Something I love talking about, and which is funny because we're not supposed to want to talk about our feelings, and it is okay.
Completely agree.